All right, guys. So there was apparently an Instagram photo that has been shared on several groups showing an outdoor memorial for Leonardo Hurtado Ibarra, who was involved in an officer-involved shooting. He succumbed to his injuries and died. This was, I don't see the date, but they were having a memorial for Leonardo Ibarra. And apparently the officer involved, or one of the officers involved in the shooting death of Leonardo Ibarra, put up an Instagram post with laughing, crying faces on his memorial. I'll show you the picture of it here in the video. I'm also going to, after this right here, stay right on here because you're going to see the press conference of the police chief. Well, you'll see the end of the press conference where he's answering questions. And so I want you guys to watch his question and answer session of the press conference and determine if you believe he's really going to do anything or if he's just smoothing the feathers of the media. I don't know. You know, he's talking about the officer's already been suspended, pending the outcome of an investigation. He said discipline could go anywhere from a suspension to a termination. They're not going to terminate this guy. But this cop apparently was involved in a fatal shooting of Leonardo Ibarra and then went to his memorial picture and posted little laughing, crying faces on his memorial. I don't know what to say. This officer is a cold, bitter, evil son of a bitch. Here's your press conference.
You've seen reports of this maybe an Instagram post?
Yeah, that's the way I was briefed. It was an Instagram post that made light of an incident this officer was involved in back in, I believe it was June, an officer-involved shooting incident that the officer was involved in.
Can you tell us about like the timeline that you expect for the investigation? Obviously, internal affairs, you know, at any given time it handles many different matters, but in terms of the length, and also, do you anticipate that the public will get answers? There have been instances in the past where you called for internal investigations and we haven't, you know, always been briefed at the conclusion of an investigation.
Yeah, let me take the first part of the question first. So obviously we want to be, this is a priority investigation for this department, and I've made that very clear to the commanding officer of internal affairs. So this will obviously be the highest priority for that office. But I want to say that we're going to take enough time to be extremely thorough and get to the bottom of exactly what happened, what was posted, and determine that. Now, as far as when I talk about transparency and reporting the findings, I think everybody's aware there is state legislation that kind of does not allow me to be as transparent as I can be, as what I'd like to be in this particular case. So I will do my very best to make certain that the public and the media has as much information that I can legally, put out there, basically, and we'll work through that. And I understand that that's a frustrating piece for the public with the state legislation, and I will, like I said, I'll be as transparent as the law allows me to be. Yes.
Can you go over the guidelines and rules for your officers when it comes to their personal social media pages?
Yeah, thank you. This is something that I, as a chief, and I know our commanding officers, our assistant chiefs, we talk about this weekly. We do have policies that do not allow us to put tweets or posts on social media about our job. Obviously we do that as part of our media services unit, but individual posts from officers, it is against policy to put posts, especially of this nature. And that's why, again, why I'm taking this allegation so seriously, why the investigation has been launched, and what you see in the officer, they've been taken out of the field and suspended.
It seems like it would be surface enough to see a post and make a decision one way or another. What is it that you guys are still waiting for before you take the file?
The officer has due process, and so I need to be able to take disciplinary action on this officer. I need to do a proper investigation where the officer is brought in and interviewed under Police Officers Protection Bill of Rights, otherwise known as PARBAR. And so we will make certain that we do our due diligence, the officer goes through the due process, and then the investigation will come to me when it's concluded, and then I'll make that determination on the appropriate discipline in this case. But I want to be very clear, this behavior is not acceptable. And I will do my duty with the authority invested in me in my position to make certain it does not happen again.
Do you worry that there is a culture where maybe some officers don't understand that this isn't a, do you think he was alone in a place like this, or maybe is it worth refreshing other officers' minds what you can and can't do on social media?
To answer your question, I don't believe it's a culture, but it's something that we have to make certain that we don't, right? But also it is something that we talk about. I'll be talking about it to all the captains tomorrow at our weekly briefing. But again, it is something that we talk about weekly. I talk about it at advanced officer training all the time. I talk about it at the captains' meetings. I know it's discussed in lineup. I know our assistant chiefs discuss it with their appropriate personnel. So it is something that we've done. That's why I'm disturbed about this post. And again, these are alleged actions, but as the investigation unfolds, these are the steps I'm now taking.
Is there some concern that there might be backlash from the community because of this? Obviously, there's been a lot of turmoil over the past several months.
No, and I understand that, and that's why I said, there's probably not. I've been in this business for 32 years. I followed my father's footsteps into this business, so I've been around this business for quite some time. I understand it's a very critical time with relationship-wise between law enforcement and the communities that we serve, and this doesn't help, and I acknowledge that, and this does not meet our expectations. And again, that's why the swift action.
If it were to come out that, what the allegations are in fact true, would you guess that those are terminable, it can be terminated for an offense like that?
So you're saying if the allegations are true?
Right. Is that something that you can dismiss and not? Would you?
Yeah, it could be everything from a suspension all the way to termination. And again, I will make that determination upon the conclusion of the investigation.
Just to follow up on a question that was asked, do you at all fear that something like this could inflame tensions and put officers in danger, either this officer or other officers? And if so, how do you handle that?
It is a concern. And that's why we're being very forthcoming. That's why we're talking to the media, making certain that people understand that I as the chief, and we as a department are taking this very serious, that we're taking steps to make sure it never happens again, and that the officer's being held accountable at this point. And so that is my message to the community, that again, these actions, these alleged actions do not reflect the values of the men and women that serve daily and do a phenomenal job. And that's again why the swift actions. So,
last thing,
thank
can you just say who was the one that reached out to you guys to notify you of social media?
I was notified from my own personnel. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.